talk about specific challenges and customizations and configurations. So, and the reason we like to bring this up is if you're an out-of-the-box Salesforce user that's just kind of configuring Salesforce, your risks are lower. There's certainly things that you need to be doing with user access controls and permissioning and whatnot. But as soon as you start doing customizations, integrations with other things, that's where the complexity gets introduced and we start experiencing more security challenges. Go ahead, Adam, and let's talk about those.
From my perspective, at least from my experience, usually there is two big branches of security challenges in the Salesforce, right? First of all, it's misconfigured security, right? It's rules about profiles, permission sets, etc. It's something not about code-related stuff, right? So it's not about programming, it's more about configuration of your organization. It's a really big branch of security vulnerabilities group. And second one is, custom code related stuff. It means that maybe some developers can miss something, just to forget about some security measures, and there, again, plenty group of vulnerabilities from custom code as well. So it's two big branches of vulnerabilities, and both of them are important from my point of view.
So anytime you're coming in and working with a client here, you're looking at what are their security settings? Are they appropriately configured? Are they misconfigured? And then what's the complexity of things like Apex or additional coding if they're using community or any of these other things that might be places where code could be introduced? That's kind of a place where you would highlight and start looking at.
So both of those vulnerability groups are important and complex because there is plenty places where you have configurations in the Salesforce, and it means that you need to inspect all of them separately first. And then again, custom code might be huge in your organization, right? You can have huge amount of customizations, and all of them also should be inspected. So it means that complexity of the inspection of both of those groups, it's important and complex, and you kind of custom code, it's complex, right? You need to read this code and understand what happens there. But actually, misconfigurations also not so easy because it's like layers of security configurations, and it's a big amount of configurations there, and they should be very carefully inspected at every review and out.
So let's look at some specific common misconfiguration vulnerabilities and custom code vulnerabilities. Why don't you walk us through this? And obviously for everybody watching, we're not going to read every single thing, but we wanted to share some places that we commonly encounter risks.
You are seeing now both of those groups with the detailed explanation. We don't need to read all of that, but in common, in general, I want to bring there a few particular points from misconfiguration, at least. Everybody nowadays very often forget about weak validation rules. So bad data, it's also security risk, and everybody just forget about it for some reason. So bad data might bring you to some data breaches as well, because data, it's not only like symbols in the database, they also actionable. So you need to keep your data as better as possible, in the best form as you could provide there. So weak validation rules, from my perspective, it's also very important part of the configuration. So you need to go through all of your objects and inspect all the validation rules. Probably you need to even create a new one, just inspect where and why you need it. But again, you need to try to keep this form as better as possible. And also, misconfigured or quite default settings, it's also very important because nowadays people just forget that you have this, it's a most global configuration of your sharings on the Salesforce layers. It means that it's a global, yes, but very often people just forget about it. And this one misconfiguration can provide, for example, access to some private records to external users, for example, for users from your community. It means that somebody with just your partners, for example, or customers can see internal records, internal sensitive data. It might be very bad. So you need to every time check this or quite defaults as well. From my point of view, all of those items it's all of them important, but tricky stuff here to just notice that some of them usually just skipped at some point. So need to be careful with all of those simple stuff. Yeah, and about custom code vulnerabilities, again, in our webinar we will talk about it a little bit later, but this is also important part of vulnerabilities, and there is plenty of to do how to like inspect it and fix them as well.